Today we're talking about one of the topics that matters most to HR leaders right now, employee experience.
Yeah, when we think about employee experience, what we're doing is we're making sure that we understand how our workforce feels. How our workforce feels when it comes to themselves doing their jobs, being part of work. One of the things that we constantly need to work on in the HR space is to remember that we're humans outside of work, but guess what? We're humans inside of work. So understanding and listening to a person and leveraging data, allows you to create a personalized conversation and a personalized experience. One of the things that we haven't done in HR is taken advantage of the data that we have to truly personalize. So we've been really good at counting people, but we haven't been great at making people count.
What we like to say at our company is being brilliant at the basics. And what does that mean? How do you get to a place where you can create a seamless experience for employees? Well, one example is having a core HR system of record, like Oracle, which we have adopted. That's back to Jason's point. That's exactly what you need in order to have your data in one place so you can take the appropriate actions. You need to collect the data, personal information, job information, location, salary. These are basic things that tell you about your workforce and what you can and cannot do based upon that information. That's critical.
The role of technology is to bring your vision to life. And one of the problems that a lot of organizations have is they don't start with a vision. They think that technology is going to create the experience. Technology fuels your vision. Technology alone doesn't create the experience.
We started our HR transformation actually during the pandemic, which was quite challenging to do, being that most of us were remote during that entire time for the last 2 years. But we were committed to really figuring out how do we enhance the employee experience. One of the things that was a big lesson learned for us is to pay attention to language. And I'll come from two different perspectives of that. It's not just the mother tongue of your individual's language, but also what you call things. To Jason's point, if people are thinking about having a baby, they don't call their babies dependents. So if somebody wants to do a search and find a knowledge article about what do they do when they're having a baby, you should probably use the word baby, and you should probably have that word baby available in the language of the employee.
So the non-negotiable in an employee experience strategy is truly designed for the employee. We don't call it HR experience. It's not an HR experience strategy. It's an employee experience strategy. So the non-negotiable has to be designed, which means I have to understand personas. I have to design journeys, not processes. Processes generate data. Journeys generate feeling. And at the end of the day, how I'm going to measure success within my employee experience is how people feel. Not just the processes that they check a box and complete, but how they feel.
During the past 2 years, my team have had a variety of experience. Some of them have been sick themselves, or their family members were sick, or they've had loss in their families. When I think about my team, it reminds me that they also are employees. They also have an experience and they matter. And that gives me insight into what I should do and how we create plans for the future, just thinking about their own experiences, even though they're a part of the deployments or the implementations. My unique experience is, quite frankly, being an African-American woman, I experience a lot of challenges that many people may not even imagine. My concerns, my fears, my personal circumstances are real, which gives me a unique ability to empathize quickly with others.
You know, one of the things, Tiffany, that I love that you talked about is when you think about empathy, it means a lot of things to a lot of people. So empathy at scale is not just something we deliver during bad times, or it's not just times of, certain issues. It's always. And the listening to what's going on and looking for signals and being able to try to think about that, as Tiffany mentioned, that she's been thinking about is really, really important.
One thing that is absolutely critical is to learn what the business objectives are and align your employee experience initiatives to those business objectives directly where possible. You have to make that initiative relevant to the leaders, relevant to your C-suite, so that they can support you with whatever you're trying to do.
Technology is so important, but it starts with that mindset. Tiffany said aligning to the business. If you can help leaders unlearn, adapt, it's one of the number one skills I think HR leaders need right now, is how to unlearn some of the old ways that we've done things and realize that the now of work that we're in right now requires us to act, think, and respond differently.
It is a mindset shift to trust people first, because HR used to be the kind of function where we were responsible for compliance, and people were afraid, and people were challenged with, should I do this or should I not? Am I going to get in trouble? But if you start with trust, you start conversations off with a very different attitude, very different perspective, and you'll find that there is speed, as Stephen Covey says, speed to trust. And I think that is extremely important. And leaders have a responsibility to create that environment where trust can be exchanged.